I really just finished the book of Daniel and want to share you my experience. The book of Daniel is kind of bogus and historically inadequate, but the easiest part to understand are the chapter 3 and 4, what fulfills itself, so uh, you don't need to bother with them too much. It is an interesting fact that in chapter 1 they tell you that Daniel was turned to an eunuch. Amazing little detail. Now, to understand the prophecies in the book of Daniel, you really need to understand only the first one. The later ones, the four beasts, the goat and the ram, the part with Michael in the chapter 10, are just repeating the first one with less details. The In chapter 1, the statue of Nebuchadnezzar's empire. What are the parts of this statue? You know, the golden head, the silver, brass, iron, etc. The first is undisputedly the Babylonian Empire. The problems arise in the interpretations at the second part, the silver part. It has something to do definitely with the Median Empire, but it is the Median or the Persian Empire, because Persia just sucked in Media. Just come with me and check if my interpretation, what I base on various sources, are competent or not. I think the Second Empire is Media. Before a certain time, Media and Persia was two different empire country. The third is Persia, because when Persia annexed Media, the empire was technically called Persia by its inhabitants. The fourth is the Greek Empire, symbolized by iron in the first vision. The fifth is the Seleucid and Ptolemaic empires, the feet of the statue. Were direct descendant of the empire of Alexander the Great, who was a great Greek Macedonian person. And the mixture of the iron and the clay seems to symbolize these two empires' behavior, because they try to uh, exist beside each other with the help of intermarriage. Uh, this is what symbolized with the mixture of the unmixing material. I find this interpretation the most clear. And the iron is really a part of Greek in them, and not just some silly stuff and equal power. Now, this goes until chapter 11, where the text goes into detailed descriptions of the Seleucid and Ptolemaic empires' interference with each other, the competition, the wars, and whatnot. And then finally they reach the Maccabean uprising, and at that point the text goes blurry in details and doesn't give the end of the Maccabean uprising. It only gives a positive promise for the end of that. So it is worth mentioning how many similarities are between this book and the book of the Maccabees, especially the first and the second book of the Maccabees. Because it seems this whole book was made for Hellenistic Jews in the 2nd century BCE under the Maccabean uprising. Then in the lines of the 11th chapter, 40 to 45, the prediction is this is an apocalyptic literature, so everything will appear as a prediction, but here this goes entirely false. Check where Antiochus, I think the fourth, died. So after gathering the data of the events from archaeology and historians, what are described in this book, we can conclude this book was written between 167 to and 164 BCE, between those two data. The historical problems otherwise mountainous in this book, as I mentioned before, at least the details about the Babylonian and Persian empires. Darius wasn't a made person, he was a Persian. He wasn't a descendant of a king, but another mighty person, and one of the instruments listed wasn't invented until the 2nd century BC. The cadence meant a nation back at that time and not a priestly caste. The order of the kings, the relations of the kings are not matched. All is a complete mess there. But nothing is more bogus than the 70 weeks prophecy. I don't know where the idea came from that this would mean 490 years, but check some interpretations what I came up with after looking on various sources. The prophecy could be about going into Babylon and then coming back. Then 70 weeks would mean 70 years, as the beginning of the chapter refers to Jeremiah's claim that the Babylonian captivity will last for 70 years. Actually, the captivity only lasted for 50 or 60 years, depends on a minor detail, but not 70. Okay, this also can be interpreted as a 70 week, equal with 70 week, and only describes the return to and the rebuilding of Jerusalem and the temple. Now, the traditional Christian understanding is that the prophecy is about the time where the Jews will be infinitely independent from other countries. This is of course happened only in the last couple of decades from our current age, but who gives a shit? From Daniel, we can obviously learn that the end time for the Jews only meant that they will be no longer suppressed by another nation. They will have the Jewish kings, they will be independent in country and no longer conquered by other, and no longer have serious wars with other countries, and they will be the light of for all countries. Now, let's check the point of time described in this 70, related to this prophecy, these 70 weeks. First, it suggests to consider that the Messiah prince started to rule according to the prophecy after the 7th week and got eradicated at the week 69, but this is another story and don't want to interpret this way because this is not the traditional Christian understanding. Now, the Babylonian captivity started 587 BCE. The rebuilding of Jerusalem started at 536 BCE. If you use the 490 years interpretation, then we have to add 69 weeks to reach the death of the Messiah prince, because it's not just a Messiah but also a prince. So we can understand why this was altered in Isaiah. So we reach, if we add the dates to the start points, 104 BCE or 53 BCE, while Jesus supposedly died between 26 and 33 BC, and the second temple got destroyed in 70 BC. The data just don't match. An important thing is that the terrible thing that bothers with the Jews very much, that complete desolation or whatever, that is the statue of Zeus put in the temple of the Jews in 167 BCE. And according to the last chapter, within 3 years the end would come, but this is in no way happened. So thanks you for watching me this long.